hard to look right at your baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe.
I really need to get something that pops up and tells me it's time to start. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. Sorry about it. So today we're going to continue our discussion on the causes of the revolution. We're going to go a little bit more into detail and even talk about some of the battles of the revolution. So you can see here on the right, I've got notes that I'm going to be taking. So make sure you have a blank piece of paper for your social studies section. We're going to talk about causes of the revolution. Now on the left, I've got a Prezi that we're going to go through and use this to help us along our way. So the first thing we're going to talk about, first Continental Congress. So I'm going to abbreviate Continental Congress. Okay. So the first Continental Congress was a reaction to the Intolerable Acts. Or the coercive acts, depending on if you're the British or the colony. So basically it was a meeting of representatives or delegates from all the colonies except for Georgia. And this was in 1774, Philadelphia. I will put Philly. To discuss what their response was going to be to the increased oppression by the British, specifically the Intolerable Acts. So they agreed to back up Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and they passed a declaration that said the Intolerable Acts were invalid. So they met to discuss Intolerable Acts. Okay. And they passed a declaration saying that, let's see, or declared, we'll just put that, declared the act invalid or worthless, whichever. Okay. To settle those who wanted the mess sorted out peacefully, they sent a petition to Britain. Okay, so there were people that wanted all-out war, okay, and then there were people that didn't want to go to war. They wanted to resolve everything peacefully. So they sent a petition. Sent petition to Britain. A petition, of course, just asking England to back off, basically. They also enforced a ban on trade with England. Okay. As well as they made preparations for future advancement. So they started to get ready for the war. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that's that with the Continental Congress. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Okay, let me get my notes back up there. Okay, the Battle of Lexington and Concord is known as the shot heard around the world. Was it literally heard around the world? Of course not. But it did begin a major war between two major nations. So let's read a little bit, and let's see. It's basically just the first battle of the war. But I may ask you what the nickname is. Shot heard around the world. Okay, so General Thomas Gage, he was the royal governor of Massachusetts. Remember, we discussed royal colonies. So He sent 700 British soldiers to arrest the Patriot leader John Hancock. So, let's see. We all know him from our last discussion on the Declaration of Independence. He's the one with the really big signature there. Wanted to make sure the king saw it. Tried to arrest Hancock. All right. John Hancock was assigned to organize and arm the militia, so he's basically getting the local army ready. This is when we talk about Paul Revere. He found out the plan, so he slipped out of town on his horse, shouted the alarm to the passing Minutemen houses, yelling, "The British are coming! The British are coming!" Probably a little louder than that, but when he finally reached John Hancock, they had 70 guys waiting. And when the colonists refused to surrender to the British soldiers, the British fired several volleys, meaning just rounds of ammo, and killed 8 Minutemen. By noon, the larger force of Minutemen came and blocked the North Bridge. They fired behind walls and trees and had dealt the British their first casualties. So we're basically letting Britain know that we're ready, you could say. Basically the first shot of the Revolutionary War. Okay? Let Britain know that we're ready. Apologize for the handwriting. You guys know me. Okay. So, Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, we'll read that poem in class in the coming weeks. So now we have the Battle of Bunker Hill. Okay. Let me see if I can get the notes back up there so we can talk about that. The Battle of Bunker Hill. This is, a little later on, it's the turning point in the war. We know what a turning point is from our study of plot. So if we were looking at the Revolutionary War as a plot mountain, this, if it were a turning point, would also be known as the climax. Very good. Okay, Battle of Bunker Hill. All right. Turning point. Okay, here we see General Gage again. He decided to put his soldiers on Bunker Hill, and once again, the Americans found out. Washington had a pretty good spy ring in place at this time. So on this, let's see, on June 16th, around 1,000 Patriot fighters settled to a hill nearby Bunker Hill. General ordered his men to drive the Americans off. At first, the Americans were winning, mowing down the front ranks of the British. But again and again, the British forces gushed forward, so they just kept coming until finally the Patriots were forced to retreat. So the British won that fight. But it did show that the Americans were going to be a tough foe to beat. So at the beginning of the war, the British thought, hey, these guys are just farmers with pitchforks, basically. But this war let them know, or this battle let them know that we were serious. Serious. And it would be a long and arduous war. Thought it was going to be a piece of cake. This war let them know that they couldn't have been more wrong. Okay, let me put that back up there. Long and arduous war.
Think you're going, baby? Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy. But here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look